Hi guys, this is Redidas TV, my hustle. My name is Francis Kandinda, and today's episode we are going to focus on women in journalism. And data from Thomson Foundation shows that 61% journalists being women, only 8% of media houses are run by women. And luckily enough, we have Mary Mwendwa, who is an awarding journalist. She has been in this industry for more than 10 years. She's also a writer. She focuses on health, environment, climate change, and gender. And she's also on online publication called Talks Africa. Aki, asante sana kwa kukuja. If you can kindly introduce your name again, because nimekuintroduce but
Thank you, thank you.
can tell me your name and now who is Mary Mwendwa.
Thank you so much, Francisca. My name is Mary Mwendwa. I'm an editor. I'm an editor right now for an online publication known as Talk Africa. Talk Africa is owned by the Association of Freelance Journalists in Kenya. And I'm also a freelance journalist, a writer, and now currently I'm doing investigative writing for online platforms for international publications and local publications.
That's really wonderful. So if you can just tell me, like I introduced your show, you do like a health, environmental, climate change, and gender. So why did you choose those kind of um, write-ups to focus on?
Uh, Let me take you a little back about my journalism history. I started in the early 2004-5 there. I started my journalism in radio. I used to work for a radio station known as Transworld Radio here in Nairobi. So I was a presenter and also a producer. And I used to do gospel shows. And then at some point, I started being commissioned to do stories on development, health radio stories, mostly health and agriculture. And at some point, I started thinking of doing something bigger and tapping into broader audiences, because radio in Kenya is confined, unless it's online, it's confined to Kiswahili, you know, and Swahili is only spoken in Kenya and around the region like DR, Congo, Tanzania, Uganda, not so much. So I started thinking about how to further my career further. And then in 2012, I quit and started to learn how to write. And I got very good mentors. There is a former journalist and a former editor at Nation. He's called Caleb Ateni. He's the one who mentored me on how to write, because he taught me how to write. And I also had my own personal initiative. I started reading a lot and reading so much and working on my writing articles. Now, that is how my journey in writing started. I have won several writing grants that have supported my stories. One of my latest investigation was supported by Money Trail. The project is called Money Trail, but the organization is based in Netherlands, Brussels. So I think you heard it being mentioned in this training. I was funded to investigate smuggling of miraa to Somalia through the Kiunga border. So it is one of the latest investigations I did. I did last year. It took long, I think close to a year. And the same year I also investigated smuggling of sandalwood in Kenya. Sandalwood is a tree, it's a hardwood that is smuggled to many countries because of its essential oils. So my writing journey has been interesting, and it is a journey of so many stories of hope, of course. And maybe let me talk a little bit about Talk Africa, the online publication that I'm also editing. We started it in 2015, and our aim was to publish stories of development that might have been killed by other media platforms, and they are stories worth reading, that stories that our audiences will be able to read. So I've been editing that publication together with my colleague. She's known as Winnie Kamau since 2015 to date. And we've seen tremendous growth in that publication because so many journalists have been able to publish stories with us. They've won very good grants. They've even won awards. And we are still going because I also write for that publication, and I am still the editor. So it has been a good journey in journalism. And I must say that I can't regret. Storytelling is interesting despite the challenges. But I choose to focus on the positives because the positives is where there is impact. You see impact after a story has been done. Yeah.
So can you just tell us a little bit of just the journey of writing? Because I know you need to be a perfectionist.
Writing is an art, and it's a skill that you develop over time. I must say, since 2012 and now, it has been a journey. The way I was 2 years ago is not the way I am today. There's a lot of training that goes into it, both on your personal level and attending forums and joining short courses where you are trained on several aspects of training. And now my area of specialization being climate change, health, environment, and agriculture, this is a science-oriented kind of reporting. And you know, in science, you are dealing with scientific facts, you are dealing with scientific words, you are dealing with scientists, doctors, and all that. And if you are not knowledgeable, and then definitely will display ignorance on your part, especially when you are doing interviews with experts, and even when you are writing. So there's no shortcut in science writing. You just have to be really, really good and read widely. I'll give you an example. There's a professor in Cambridge. He's called Professor Ogutu. He's one of the best researchers in malaria in the region. There was a time I was interviewing him, and I realized that this guy is trying to, as in he really wanted to know if I am a really science-based journalist, because we started doing a conversation, and he could ask questions. If I was not prepared, I could have been caught off guard. So in science reporting, you just have to read widely so that you are on top of your audience, because the audience depends entirely on you to give them information, and this information is in scientific facts, so you have to break it down for them. And another thing, science does not sell so much in most of these media houses. I think in current times, during COVID is when we saw science hit headlines. You know, the health story around COVID was a science story. That is when we only saw those stories like hitting headlines consistently. But generally at times, science does not sell because it will not maybe attracting a large profits to the media houses. So you find some science stories, they wait for the weekend editions, or they wait for the lifestyle, you know. Yeah.
Why did you come and say you want to focus on health, environment, climate change, and gender?
I realized as much as I was doing stories, health, agriculture, environment, and gender, there's a way these stories are intertwined. You find there's a gender story in climate change. You find there's a gender story in health. You will find there's a gender story in agriculture. You'll find there's a gender story in environment. And you find that such kind of stories are touching on real life people. You see, I'll give you an example of a climate change story. We've just been having some serious drought in many regions in Kenya. Such stories, you go to a village, let's say in Mandera, you find there's a lot of devastation, people are dying, livestock is dying, there's no water, there's nothing. That's a climate change story. And you'll find in such a story, there's also a gender story. You'll find that there are roles that women and men are playing within that same story. So for me, I decided, it's a deliberate decision I made. I wanted to create impact in people's lives. And most of my stories touch on, as much as I do these stories, I try to challenge policy, because policy is where the real big deal is. Because we have bad policies or if we have poor policies, then definitely, even if we cry about people dying of climate change and then the policy up here is not good, nothing much will change. So most of my stories target policy actions within specific areas. Yeah.
So why did you basically choose writing? Like, this is my passion, because I know like you could have like chosen any.
Oh yeah, I know. You know, online print, no, print or online, it gives you time to do, there's always space, especially online. There's a lot of space online. Limit is not there. Limit comes in terms of maybe when the editor wants a specific article to have a specific word count. But you are able to do your story more comprehensively. You are able to do you can even reach 2,000 words depending on how you make the story interesting. In print, you will find there's no space. Maybe an advert has come, yeah? Then the editor has to cut off your story. And that is why sometimes you find some stories, you as a reader, you are feeling like, okay, kuna kitu imekatwa. It's about space, yeah? Because they have a limit of space that they have to use. They can't overstretch beyond that space. But online has a lot of space. So as a writer, targeting online platforms, I have a lot of space. So I'm able to do more comprehensive articles. Comprehensive articles, because I'm not fighting for space anywhere. I'm able to do multimedia. I'm able to put in video, I'm able to put in audio, I'm able to put in visuals, maps. So I have space. So it's upon me to use that space in a more creative way. Yeah.
How long does it take to publish like one story?
I must say it depends. Some stories, you can even send an editor a story and then they stay with it for 1 month. I have a case where you can imagine the Ukraine war made my story die. Reason being, the editor and the other team were busy reporting in Ukraine. So my story could not run because it was bad. But when I emailed the editor, he told me, Mary, your story is really good, I know and I know. But now we are so much tied with the Ukraine war. So our newsroom is very busy. So you will wait until things calm down in Ukraine, then you will be able to do your story. But if a story is really good, it ranges between 2 weeks and 1 month. But there are stories that even they can sit on a desk, even for several months, if it is a feature story, because some stories are relevant even within a span of several years. I have several, but the latest one, the latest one that really made me scared, I did a story for Al Jazeera about how Kenyan boxers are getting into depression after they retire or something happens to them. So I featured, I think 3 boxers who are really stars in Kenya in the boxing arena. One is already retired, but is living in a terrible state because some things just happened. But 2 of them, one is already having some mental issues and is already addicted to miraa and other substances. So this one, the 2 of them didn't have a problem, but there is one, after the article ran, he started threatening me with messages and you know, he started threatening me saying, you came to interview me, now you are writing bad stories about me, I'm not an addict, you just need to know what to do, I'll send goons to you to beat you up and all that. So I think I ignored, but at some point it reached, I said, okay, I think I need to report this. So when he stopped, and then I stopped. Now, for some funny reason, my Instagram page is not very active. I found people had gone there to bash me. I don't know who they were, but they were bashing me, telling me I'm promoting the Arab agenda about Africa. So they were saying Arabs hate Africa. So I'm exposing African problems to the Arab world. I want to gain popularity because, you know, Al Jazeera is owned by the Arabs. I want to gain popularity among the Arab audience because, you know, when a story is done in English, there's also Al Jazeera Arabic. So there's also, yeah, so there's also the audience for Arabic to be able to read that kind of story. So I think the trolls were a bit much, but I used to ignore. I don't know how they could just hit my inbox on Instagram, bashing me and saying terrible words about the story. But the story was so genuine, verified. Actually, the boxers that I interviewed, their cases were really needy, because I even came there feeling depressed because of people who represented Kenya in Commonwealth. Somebody who has won several gold medals, up to 6, does not even have a house now. He's living on the streets. He's addicted. He has gone to rehabilitation centers. You see, such is a sad story, but someone is now attacking you and bashing you online, saying you are trying to gain popularity among the Arabs. But I think it calmed down after some point, and then, yeah. But such kinds there are many. This is part of writing. My late mother was my #1 fan, and even my dad. They all died several years ago. They were my biggest fans. They're the people. In fact, my mom is the one who kept pushing me. I wanted to do accounts initially. I'm very good in mathematics, but I think my mom started pushing me, telling me, "I think you are good in journalism. Try it." And for sure, she could feel so happy when she saw me excelling in journalism. But my kids, I have kids. My daughter, who wants to join university now, sometimes she reads my stories and she says, "Wow, this is good." But sometimes you see her saying, "I think this is dangerous. So how did you access these sources?" So she reads my stories, and sometimes I can tell her, "Can you check for me my social media pages just to see what is happening?" So I think my family embraces what I do. I think in the next 5 years, which is not far from now, I just expect big investigative projects that will have impact on the livelihood of Kenyans. I'm not looking at investigatives where it will be like, you remember the guns galore?
Yeah.
Anyway, not that kind of thing. Investigatives, you don't really need to expose. Sometimes you just give information that people do not know. So I'm looking at, in the next 5 years, to have some big investigations. 5 years is very small for investigations. It could be 1 or 2, but something big that will change lives of Kenyans. Something big that will touch on the lives of Kenyans. I've done a proposal, I think, a few months ago, to be funded for an investigation. So I'm still waiting for feedback. If this one goes through, then it will be a game changer. I'm just praying, fingers crossed.
We all are. Mary atapata.
So it will be like Jichopevu.
Not, I don't know.
Or more bigger.
I don't know. Anyway, let's see. So I'm just waiting for feedback
Yes.
from the grants team, because many of these investigations I cannot do on my own. And I wanted to partner with another journalist from Cameroon. Yeah? So it is a cross-border investigation. So we are just waiting for feedback from the donor to see what they say about the investigation. If they give us a go-ahead and give us some money, then we'll be good to hit the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from Mary Mwendwa. She has an inspirational story, so hope you've learned 1 or 2 things. And she forgot to say she's a member of AMWIC, which is Association of Media Women in Kenya, which was established in 1982. Guys, mimi sina maneno mingi ya kusema. Just go to all our social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Radiators Foundation. Remember to like, subscribe, share all of them on our YouTube channels. Tupatane kwa the next episode of My Hustle. I've been your host, Francis Kandinda. Bye.